Gather round, kids. It's time for a story.
It's time for a story, it's time for a story.
Once upon a time, I was in 9th grade. You know what? Whatever. So, when I was in 9th grade, we were studying the Holocaust in my English course. You know, literature about the Holocaust, Diary of Anne Frank, stuff like that. And part of the course, you know, the teacher made us watch Schindler's List. So she was going through the cast of characters for Schindler's List, and among this cast of characters was the Angel of Death. When we stopped the movie for the day because we ran out of time, she asked everybody in the class, she was like, okay, so this is the Angel of Death. Do you know who the Angel of Death is? Nobody raised their hand, but I kind of smiled a bit, you know, because of Slayer. Anyway, she was like, okay, get out your laptops, Google it. Google Angel of Death. And a few people were like, oh, it's a song. And of course, you know, she was like, oh, really? Well, read the lyrics. So I was sitting there like, oh, yes, yes, yes. Anyway, she called the guy up front, and he started reading the lyrics to the song out loud, like the entire song lyrics. Yes, Slayer's Angel of Death. It was amazing. He started reading Auschwitz, the meaning of pain, the way that I want you to die. Slow death, immense decay, showers that cleanse you of your life. You know, fun lyrics like that. And of course, you know, it gets more graphic as it goes along. And the look on the teacher's face was just like, the look on everybody else's face was like, the look on my face was like, of course, you know, as he's reading these lyrics, everybody's just cringing in their seats like, oh my god, is this song real? Pumped with fluid inside your brain, pressure in your skull begins pushing through your eyes, burning flesh drips away. Anyway, so after the guys finished reading the lyrics, the teacher's like, what year was this song written? I said, 1986, real loud. That teacher gave me a very disturbed look right then, and she probably had a different opinion about me for the rest of the course. Needless to say, I had some Slayer on during lunch break. I mean, don't you love when that happens? You know, when metal gets mentioned in school, I mean, doesn't it bring a big smile to your face? It does to mine. You know, it's just like if you take a world religions course and they mention the Marduk or something, and you're thinking, Marduk, yeah. Or it's like when you're taking a history course and the teacher mentions Alexander the Great and you think of Iron Maiden. Or an even better example is when I was on the bus in 7th grade. You see, when I was in 7th grade, I didn't sit in the back of the bus with the rest of the people from my age group. No, I was usually sitting in the front listening to metal. Because if I sat in the back, people would try to talk to me and that would interrupt my metal listening. Anyway, one day I was listening to Deicide on the bus, and this little 6-year-old kid who's sitting beside me, you know, he's like, oh yeah, you're always listening to music, what do you listen to? I listen to stuff that your mommy and daddy would not like you listening to. And then I look at this kid and I say, you wanna listen? And he's like, sure! So I put the headphones on his head, he's just rocking out to Deicide's Dead by Dawn, and he's making the faces and everything. I mean, this little 6-year-old kid, he's sitting there next to me like, I mean, he's doing the growls and doing the faces and everything. It's perfect. I had the most satisfied smile on my face the rest of the day. And then, just to see how far I could push it, I put some Dying Fetus on, and then I put some Terrorizer on, and the kid just started making these movements, man. I thought I was gonna break this kid. I thought he was gonna explode. But then again, I thought I was gonna explode the first time I listened to Dying Fetus and Terrorizer, so who knows, maybe. I think I planted the seeds of metal in the head of a 6-year-old. In a number of years, he's gonna be visiting Peaceville and Relapse's websites, and he's gonna be like, oh yeah, that guy in the bus introduced me to that stuff. I'm gonna order my own. Pat myself on the back here. There's one last school story I'd like to tell for this video. I was assigned to do a project on what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, you know, as a career. And my project of choice, it was being an underground musician, you know, being in as many bands as possible. Let's see, do something production-wise, do something that involves the music. And of course, you know, you had to state facts, you know, how much money they make, what they do, how many nights a week they get off, do they have holidays off, stuff like that. And it's weird because as many career tests that I've taken when I was 13, 14, none of them said musician on the list. Yeah, they'll say stuff like production design, film, musical instruction, but I want to be a musician, so that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, back to the project. I was supposed to show an example of the kind of work that I would be doing. So in this project, I took a little clip from this rare Dystopia VHS tape, and I played like 30 seconds of them playing in a club or something, and it was great. I was talking over it. I was like, yeah, see how the crowd is mosh pitting? See how everybody's stage diving and going crazy, and see how in between songs they're smoking bongs and interacting with the audience, stuff like that? You know, you can't do that with big mainstream bands. You know, like Foreigner doesn't talk to people in the front row. And of course the looks on everybody's faces as I was playing the clip of this tape, you know, everybody was just like... And of course there are some people like, ooh, what are they saying? Oh, they're screaming and growling. Of course there's always going to be those people. Aggravating. And you know what? The only question the teacher or anybody had was, oh, do these underground musicians have girlfriends? Well, gee, I don't know. Do big rock stars and big movie stars have girlfriends? Well, yes, these underground people do have relationships because they are street-level people. They have jobs, they have regular lives, they have families just like everybody else. Of course, I've also written some punk stories and some punk essays, and I even wrote a story in school where Code 13 and Destroy got back together. Anyway, I'm sure that you all have some metal stories and some punk stories to share of your own, so please list them. Thank you for watching.